Hello, my name is Mindy Vincent, and welcome to another episode of Therapeutic Madness. So today I have my guest co-host, Justin Areola, with us.
Howdy.
Justin, thank you for finally joining us. He's supposed to have been my co-host for a million times, but he just never got here. So we're so excited he made it today.
Good things come to those who wait.
We'll remember that. And we have two more super special guests today. This is Matt and this is Leo. Guys, say hello to everyone.
Hello. How's it going? Great to be here.
Good to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for coming. And so today we're talking about PTSD. And so first of all, let's start with Justin. We have to start with you. So tell us a little bit about you. You'll see Justin all the time, so you might as well find out who he is now.
So
Justin, tell us who the hell you are and what you're doing here.
I'm a drug policy advocate. I sit on the board of UHRC. Do some policy direction. I've worked with a few other nonprofits. I helped pass cannabis legislation here in the state.
The ballot initiative, Prop 2,
That's
that
right.
was swiftly destroyed by your legislature.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you do.
Yeah. So we fought long and hard for that one, got it, and then they kind of decided to take it and change it, but at least we got it. I'm a vet, so I work with a lot of vets.
What branch were you in?
The Navy.
The Navy.
Yeah.
I ask everybody that. It is very important to me and tells me a lot about my veterans when I know what branch they were in. It's true. Everyone is a different breed. Yes, it's true. Marines are so different than like guys from the Army, and I love them all for their own certain little reasons, but like plus I care where each one of you guys served. I give a shit. So
yes, that's me. I own an engineering company here and do a lot of drug policy work. So.
And he has a super great radio voice, doesn't he?
Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Very, very white type stuff. Yeah.
Right? And thank goodness his face matches with it. We're all so lucky. So.
These guys are like, I don't feel that way.
That's okay. It's my show. I'll decide. So, guys, I'm so excited that you guys are here.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to come down. And thank you for having the courage to come and talk about this issue and share some of your stories and like the amazing stuff. I don't want to steal their thunder, but there's an amazing thing they're doing coming. So you cool just hold on to your fun hats, my friends. But just thank you for coming, being willing to be vulnerable and share your stories and share what you have done in your own lives and how you're helping others with it. So which one of you wants to go first? Look at them jump. Oh, let it be me. Let it be me.
What do you want to talk about, Mindy?
Well, tell us. Either one of you can start. Yeah, who are you?
Let's hear
what are you doing
your
here? Tell us about your... You tell us whatever you want to tell us. And we're clearly starting with Matt, everyone. Say hello to Matt.
My name's Matt. I'm a veteran.
Of what branch?
Of the Coast Guard and the Army.
Cool.
I met Mindy a few years back as she was helping me out of a dark spot as my therapist, and so she asked me to be on the show today and explain my story a little bit. So my story basically starts as I was born in Indiana, raised in Illinois. I moved from Illinois to Utah back in my senior year of high school, and then from there is when my military career, after I graduated, started. I enlisted in the Coast Guard for 5 years active duty, and that was a good time. The Coast Guard was great. I was on the Great Lakes there in Cleveland, Ohio, inner city station where we did search and rescue and law enforcement, and it was a busy station. We had a lot of fun putting out, doing all kinds of things, from putting out fires and doing law enforcement and sinking boats and bad weather and lost people, and just goes on and on and on. It was a good time. But that's where my PTSD story started, was at the Coast Guard.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it wasn't always a good time, though.
No,
right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize the Coast Guard, so, I'm a veteran provider. I've been a veteran provider for almost a decade, so I've served lots and lots of vets, and, not very many from the Coast Guard. And I didn't even realize the kind of work the Coast Guard does, I didn't realize how much ugly things they have to see, like when people go commit suicide out on the water and all sorts of stuff like that. They have to go out for all of that, and I didn't even think about that at all. And so I've learned a lot from Matt about what the Coast Guard does. So even though it's a good time, there was also there were good times and there were bad times.
Right.
Did you say you were doing SAR stuff?
Yeah, search and rescue. Yeah,
a real tough program. Yeah, it's a real tough program.
It is, and the law enforcement program. I was a federal law enforcement boarding officer with the Coast Guard as well, and so we did a lot of that as well. But I lost my train of thought. But yes, that's where my PTSD basically started, was in the Coast Guard, but I didn't really even know it at the time. Since we're here to talk about PTSD, like that's the weird thing about PTSD, and Leo can agree. He's had similar type experiences with it, that we didn't even know that we had PTSD until years later. From there, I just struggled with a lot of different jobs after the Coast Guard. I had a hard time staying employed. I had a hard time just, coping and being with my family and being present for my family, and being sober was difficult for me all the time. Wasn't getting anything accomplished. So I joined the Army National Guard, because I thought there was something wrong with me, and that I just wanted to be with people that were similar and like me, and I thought that was the thing. But
did you feel like you were missing out on being a part of the service?
Yes, that was a part of it as well, I think.
Okay.
Maybe some of that structure also.
I was missing out on a lot of it. Yeah. I just needed to be back with my guys. I needed to be back with somebody. Yep. And not necessarily my guys, because I'd made a lot of good friends, but they were off in different directions too. I just needed to be back with, like you said, the camaraderie, the guys, some people that had the same vision, the Patriots, I thought. And
I had that same issue for like the first year coming off.
Yeah.
When I came back, it was just hard, because I was young, I was in charge of all this $1 million of equipment, and doing all these things, and had people under me that were listening to what I was doing, and then I was just a 23-year-old kid.
Right.
And there was no structure, right? And it's just, it was a difficult adjustment, for sure.
Right, it is a difficult adjustment. And that's why I ended up back in the Army Guard. And at that point, I had I guess what you would call like a breakdown. I lost total control of what I was doing in life. Yeah. And it was just a complete meltdown. I had some car accidents and just a relationship that was failing, and my kids were upsetting me all the time. Yeah. And I needed help, and that was when I finally caved and said, okay, let's look at this PTSD thing. Yeah. And then from there, with Mindy's help, we kind of just unraveled it, more and more, and we're still unraveling. Yeah. But that's my quick story, I guess, to say, and here I am now, still trying to get better, but from day to day, it's a struggle.
Thank you for sharing that, though.
Yeah, thank you for sharing it. And we're going to come back to some of the things that you have been working on all this time to learn how to manage PTSD.
Absolutely.
Because something that you should know is that Matt is the most skilled vet I've ever worked with. He has more skills that are more internalized, that he utilizes every day religiously than anybody that I know. And so it actually speaks to the power of PTSD, because you can be super skilled and it still doesn't make it go away. And so we have to have more things and lots of avenues available to help our veterans in the very best way that we can, and in the way that they find works best for them. So let's hear some of your story, if you don't mind, Leo, which, by the way, I am a Leo, and green's also my favorite color.
That's my favorite color, too. And I'm a tree hugger here by heart, so.
Nice.
Yes, and he's a hugger, and I'm a hugger, so I just love Leo right away.
Do you have fun hugging Matt sometimes? It's kind of rough, huh? He's a tough guy.
Well, he's not a tough guy. He's a wonderful little cat. And I wouldn't describe him as a tree hugger, though.
No.
No, not a tree hugger. He's nope, that's not really me.
But something just to piggyback off of that is that when when I met Matt, I was working at the military entrance processing station, so MEPS, right?
Yeah.
Lovely MEPS. We love MEPS.
Love maps.
That's where you learn how to hurry up and wait the first time, you know?
Yeah. Kind of sets the tone for everything.
I remember this there's only males in a room, and we're all nervous, trying to figure out what's next. And this guy that worked there comes in and says, "Who here is missing their pap smear?" And all the guys are looking at each other going like, "Dude, I know I didn't get one, so I must be missing one." Everyone wanted to get up, you know, but it felt so wrong.
Oh my God.
So messed up. But I used to work there, and I remember Matt, that's where I first met him. And it's exactly what he said. He told me that he was looking for camaraderie, that he missed that bond, you know, that type of feeling. And when I left, I mean, it was very lonely 3 years in many ways for the things I was going through.
Yeah.
And as much as the units, you know, they train people on resiliency once a month for an hour, they're hitting it in the wrong spot. They need to focus on the camaraderie aspect of building community around these people, you know. And and I get passionate about that. But I'm also a person in recovery, just learning how to live with PTSD. I'm originally from Brazil.
You are?
Yeah.
That's wild and really cool.
Born in São Paulo, Brazil.
No shit. I love Brazilians. They are some of the funnest people on earth. I've seriously never met a Brazilian I don't like. And I like whole groups of people based upon a few people that I've met, right? I'm a huge fan of New Mexicans. People from Brazil. Everybody knows I have matching tattoos with the New Mexicans, and I'll hashtag I love the New Mexicans. So New Mexicans and Brazilians are another one of those people. So
Oh, I'm glad. And
nice.
what's funny, I lived 8 years in Mexico.
I love Mexico.
I played minor league pro soccer down there for up until I was 20.
That's so cool. What part of Mexico?
Mexico City, Puebla, and Guadalajara.
Oh my gosh.
It was a different chapter
Spanish
of my
is probably
life.
on point then, right?
They say I speak like a chilango, like.
Yes.
And what's funny is with my parents, we'll speak in Spanish. With my brothers, and with my parents, Portuguese. Then my brothers, it's dirty street Spanish all day long. You know?
Yeah. Interesting.
It's not very refined, but you know.
That's very cool. Okay,
That's how
so
you know.
you're
Anyway, tangent.
so you're playing soccer. No, that is not a tangent. That's important information.
It was a squirrel, right?
No,
It was.
And I chase
squirrel.
squirrels.
And she chases
Therapeutic
squirrels
Madness.
all the time.
Hello. There's a reason for the name.
But so then when I was 21, 22, I came to the U.S. I got accepted at Brigham Young University and lasted 3 semesters. Wasn't the culture for me.
Were you LDS?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
Back in a while back, but BYU was an interesting experience. I think just playing soccer and being out of that religious environment, going to BYU was a big cultural shock, and it's fine. It just wasn't for me.
Right.
Yeah.
But a defining experience for me at that time was that I went to a T-Mobile store. I shouldn't mention the service carrier, but it was just a bad employee.
I bag on him having T-Mobile service all the time.
I have T-Mobile too right now. So
And I'll let everybody know.
You know what?
I paid a lot of money to get rid of T-Mobile.
They're not that bad. She's a Verizon.
I like their
we'll say
customers.
both.
I live
so
in a
we
rural
don't have-
area of Utah, and T-Mobile is not great in rural areas of Utah. So
Gotta
my
get
experience
Wi-Fi.
is different than the city. Fuck that. Fuck that. I want good phone service. That's why I have Verizon. And now that was a squirrel. That was a squirrel, friends.
Yeah.
But
So
it was an important message you needed to know. So please go on.
did you read the fine
So you
print
went
on
to a
that?
T-Mobile store.
I went to a T-Mobile store and I'm at
Insert legal here.
and I'm at a kiosk and I had just played a soccer game with my Brazilian friend and the kiosk just kept rebooting every time I was trying to pay my bill. So I started talking to him in Portuguese and I'm acting frustrated. 'Cause I'm in a rush and it's already a bad day and I overhear this guy say, "Man, look at these foreigners. They can't even operate a kiosk. They should go back to their country." In a nutshell, he said that with his Southern Utah accent, right?
Yeah.
And it bothered me because up until that point, I had never been discriminated ever. Like in Brazil and Mexico and
I grew up
New
here,
York
man.
City, I never felt discriminated as I felt in that moment. And
Yeah, that happens here.
so I called the guy out and I asked where his grandpa was from, and I kept going down that line until it came out he was from Wales. And I said, "Well, there's a fucking immigrant right there, man." You know, and And his manager heard me raise my voice, and so it was just awkward. But driving home, I'm crying of anger, because I hadn't experienced something like that human experience I hadn't had.
Yeah.
And I saw their Armed Forces Recruitment Center. So I was like, screw it, I'm going.
Yeah.
So I knocked on the first door.
These sons of bitches.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the feeling I had was, I'm never going to let someone talk to me like that again.
Yeah.
I'm going to earn my citizenship because I could have already applied for it at that point.
Right.
And I wanted to have that sense of earning so that no one would ever...
I'll be more American than you will, guy.
Now I have,
you know what I mean?
I have a brotherhood and sisterhood of military
Right.
veterans that
You
are
had somebody
backing me.
giving you a hard time, and then you go join the service, and that's like way more patriotic than those guys that were talking crap.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well, and if I ever run for governor, I want to use that as an example for a way to earn your way in,
Yeah.
'Cause I think it's bullshit what we're experiencing right now, but
Right. Vote for Leo.
brownie point somewhere out there.
Yeah.
But so that was my experience wanting to earn my citizenship. I remember going home and telling then my wife, I had just been recently married, and I was telling my wife, like, hey, just so you know, I'm basically going to sign the dotted line. And she just went crazy, oh, it's a time of war, this is crazy. And I said, this is the best time to do it, And so
What year was this?
it was 2008, I think.
Okay.
This happened around 2008. And so the recruiter came to the house because I wanted Mary to be able to listen to him as well. And he was just a phenomenal guy. And the branch I chose ended up being the Utah Army National Guard. And like I said earlier, I'm very passionate about community, and I couldn't think of a better place to be than in a local state militia. I gained so much love for Utah, even though I grew up in Sao Paulo, Mexico City, New York, Santiago. Like, it's just this is such a small town, and you get here and you go nuts,
Yeah.
And then you start finding out about mountains and fishing, which
Right.
to this date I still struggle grabbing the fish. I wear gloves. Yeah, I'm a city boy. My kids put the worm on the hook, but like we all got our things. But
That's true.
I ended up falling in love with this state, and I love how simple and basic it is. It's clean, beautiful mountains. And so militia was a big thing for me. Big army, federal government, that's fine. But I think where we make the most impact is locally. And so I'm very proud that I joined the Guard. Ended up even having a full-time job with them for a very long time, working on just counter-drug type missions, and it was very fun. My PTSD, really just to land this, starts in boot camp. I had, like I said, I haven't really experienced racism in Brazil. In Mexico, it was very different perspective. And going into boot camp, I saw how racist all these individuals became very quickly. I think you experienced that in the Navy, or I don't know if you saw that too, Matt. But
I don't absolutely.
That makes
Even here in
me
Utah.
sad as
I've been to boot
shit.
camp twice.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And they, anything they could do to break you down, like whatever it was, and it was just an excuse for them. Like, they had a reason to be as racist as they wanted to be.
I saw drill sergeants provoke their racism.
Yeah.
Recognizing a soldier that was very undisciplined,
Right.
and recognize him in front of the people that were actually trying hard, or the one idiot that decided to eat a fucking pie out of that dining facility.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or grab an apple or something.
We walk out, and then the drill sergeant's just waiting to scuff us up.
Yeah.
Everyone puked that day.
Yeah.
And that guy stood and watched us do it,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Mob discipline.
So
That's right.
Yeah.
it was I saw every day this difficulty of clash, and you can't blame these people because they come from such a different walk of life. People from trailer parks, gangs, individuals that grew up in the projects, and people that grew up with good families,
Yeah.
everywhere.
Well, and they focus on some of the marginalized groups because they know they don't have a way to go to college, right? They give you an offer for whether it's the GI Bill or
Oh, and their recruitment?
or the
Yep.
Navy college fund or the Army college fund, right? Whatever, National Guard puts up money. And so for a lot of families, that's the only way to get schooling is to go into the military.
It's a way out.
It
Yeah.
does
It's
give
a way
good
out.
opportunity, that's for sure.
Right.
It does. At
So-
a very high cost to many, many, many. So,
Yeah, so you're right. That's
Yeah.
kind of...
And so just to kind of land this, I was noticing all this, and I was assigned to a battle buddy that was 19 years old. I was 23, I think. And this kid was from Chicago, so he had an attitude. White little boy, you know, he was like 5'5" maybe. I
had to have an attitude.
But he felt like my little brother. He felt like my little brother was that kid that I was just trying to take care of. And this group of African American, this little clique that developed in the barracks would come and just pick on the white boys. Yeah. Right? They would blatantly just go pick on them. And one day they grabbed this one kid and they threw him off, my battle buddy, they threw him off the bunk bed, and I stood up for it, and I said, dude, I remember just hitting the guy on his right shoulder, and I said, we wear the same damn flag on our uniform, man. Like, I remember just being very emotional because he really got hurt. And then the other guys in the barracks just kind of gathered together, and they walked out. But they walked out saying, we're going to get you back, Oliviera, you'll see. And you know, it was nerve-wracking, but I was just trying to focus on what I was there for. Yeah. My wife was pregnant. My son was going to be born 2 weeks about after I came back from training, so I didn't want any issues. I just wanted to be done. You see, the guys that get recycled,
yes,
and the chairborne rangers and all that. I didn't want to be that guy.
Yeah,
I wanted to hold my son, you know.
Right.
And so one day, in the showers, going into the shower was a place where that hour that we had for personal care at the end of the day, I would just let the water hit me and kind of like do my own meditation. I would focus on not being where I was, and I would just focus on these positive things of like what it was going to be like to be a dad, or you know, to come back to my wife and raise a family. And so I was in the shower, and before I knew it, I was surrounded by these individuals. You know, they put me in a Nelson, and they basically invaded my own privacy, right? Yeah. And eventually they left. I hated myself for many years for not fighting, for just being so passive and being so... it's almost like it was an out-of-body experience being there. And coming home was when it completely detached from myself. I would go hide in the mountains. I would go drink alcohol, you know, and just go fishing. It was a lovely experience, but I was just isolating from my family. I wasn't there for my son. And
everything you've been waiting to come back to,
everything that I was waiting for was gone. Yeah. I couldn't just come back to normal life.
Yeah.
And my wife dealt with postpartum depression, to which I couldn't be of support to her because I was emotionally withdrawn.
Yeah.
And you know, I finished my boot camp. I didn't make much of that throughout the 10 years. I never really even thought of it. But my marriage struggled for 10 years with lack of, the intimacy and lack of just being present. Everything was a fucking checklist, you know. Like, okay, let's go eat. Let's go do this. But I wasn't present. I wasn't hugging my children and filling them. Really? I wasn't really...
I can relate to that.
Connecting with my wife, yeah. And so it was a long journey, and I had a big awakening 3 years ago, and where basically family was ready to leave. You know, I was no longer a fit father, and I wasn't aware that I had PTSD. But that was a big awakening, combined with another terrible experience we had, my wife and I. But we're here, you know, we're standing and we're fighting for our marriage, and now that I'm aware of PTSD, it's such a freedom to be able to live this way. Right. Because now I know that when I'm triggered, I know where to go. And we're going to talk about that with the Vetcave here in a second. But we found ways so that we can, you know, get healthier and get stronger and still be involved with our kids. I kid you not, I learned how to be a dad 18 months ago. Yeah. I don't even remember holding my kids very much because I was in so much anger.
Yeah. And Matt, you said you relate to that too.
Oh yeah. He just says it better than I do, but he's a better speaker. But yeah, I do relate to that in a lot of ways. The isolation for sure. Like he said, he'd go up and try and be by himself on purpose. From what it sounds like, when he goes in his car and was drinking, I was doing similar things to that. You know,
Not driving,
but I would. I had a camper, and I'd end up in that thing.
I used to go to the garage and like go sneak off and, you know, hit a joint or do something, just try to like chill out, you know what I mean? Same kind of things. Like I was fortunate enough that it was so I've been married twice. So the first marriage, it was kind of the same story, right? I was in the military at the time as active duty. We were in military weddings or military marriages were kind of rough, right? It's really hard on them. It's hard on you. You're isolated from your family. A lot of water passes under the bridge, right?
Right.
But my second marriage, I had my youngest son, and so I was able to, at that time, develop some better tools, right? But even then, there would be occasions where I'd have to step away and go isolate and just find some place that wasn't so chaotic, right? Just give yourself a second to kind of pull it together,
right?
And that's why I think what you guys are doing is so great. So we'll segue into that.
Yeah, and in fact, it's probably time for us to take a break. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come right back, and we'll get into what these guys do to manage PTSD, and most importantly, this amazing thing that they have created to help many, many veterans deal with PTSD that I'm so excited about. So we'll see you in just a minute. Hello and welcome back to Therapeutic Madness. Today we have our special guests, Leo and Matt, and our wonderful co-host Justin is finally here. God. So, we were talking about PTSD. Matt and Leo had shared some of their stories with us. So, we went on break and you guys had finished, you got into the part where you realize you have PTSD. So, what have each one of you guys done to manage living with PTSD, and how has that led you to the big secret that we're announcing today? Dun, dun, dun.
You go first.
Okay. So I'll tell you the story, how it kind of started. And these are basically parallel stories that got together, which is really cool because, you guys have been working together all along, and you've been so aware of what's been going on. And so it's an awesome connection.
The universe works in not even mysterious ways, very intentional ways. It's true. I truly believe that.
And we're riding that wave right now with the Vetcave.
Yeah. Now you know the name. They're called Vetcave. They are the coolest
Not the
thing.
Vetcave, not the man cave or the she cave or she shed, whatever they call it.
She shed.
This is the Vetcave.
The
Vetcave.
Yeah, not to be confused as the pot shed, because we had an article written about us that we had to fix.
And they called it the pot
Yeah,
shed.
they're like, veterans build the pot shed, and we're like, no.
It's not only for pot. Like some veterans
veteran
do.
does whatever
Yes,
they feel they
which
need
that
to
we'll
do.
get
Exactly.
into. Yes.
Yeah.
So I was going through my MBA, right? This is after going through this extremely traumatic experience 3 years ago, and going through my MBA, just trying to stay afloat, and I kept finding myself going to my shed. And I was always in there just kind of trying to get away. Kids were loud, and I would just go there and smell gasoline. And, not that I was smelling gasoline, but
wait
the
one
shed smelled like
second.
gasoline.
I would go in my shed and huff gas.
I would just drink this.
You're too old to huff
just
gas.
did alcohol.
Huffing
No.
gas is not something anyone should do.
It was just a shed, basically. I had
But it does smell good. I used to like to stand behind it when the cars were warming up when I was
No,
a
but
little
that
kid.
blows me away that you're saying that, because I used to go. I put my bench press out in my shed, and I would go out there every once in a while, just go and do bench and sit, chill for a minute.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's great.
It's just
and already I was also thinking that's what Matt.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's Matt's story too. I was like, Matt runs away to his shed too. Like,
yeah.
So that's
I'm out.
You guys are all
I'm out.
little shed.
That's
little
basically
shed
what was
seekers.
happening.
That's so
It
cool.
works for everybody.
I found myself in there, and then I think I have neck problems from an Army injury, and so I got this hot tub I saved up for it, and I was super excited, and I told the electrician, hey, can you just wire it over to my shed so I can, watch some soccer in there? That'd be great. And so I ended up mounting 2 screens, so now I'm watching the English Premier League, super excited.
Yeah.
But I was just there, and I remember one time Matt came over, and he starts telling me that he's at the same time fixing his up and making it look all nice and things like that. And I was like, man, I should pimp my shed too. I mean, I'm always here,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it started. As my MBA was finishing, I had to create a capstone, it was this business plan. And I mean, Matt and I are both in there just smoking a J, and I'm looking at Matt and I go, dude.
Even though they are not pot sheds, damn it, they're
Well,
vet caves.
In that moment, it was being service for that, which is much better than being inside your house.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
Yeah.
out of the reach of kids and all.
Yep.
And we have our secret hiding spots in there. But so we're just in there, and I look at it and I was like, dude, what if we built these for veterans that have PTSD? And we could do it as a reality TV show, you know? And so that was kind of like the initial juice of it. His was looking awesome, and what I liked about his is that he purposed it in a way that he had his little office, but he had this whole area where he could use his own skills.
Yes.
Like woodworking, and he started doing jewelry and all this cool stuff. And that's when it clicked in my head for me is, man, if we just build these for veterans, they're going to isolate. So we got to pick on their creativity. We got to turn these guys into entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And as we understood that more and more, we realized that in our own lives, because he runs a jewelry shop out of there, among a few other things, and I'm doing the Vetcave and my Silicon Slopes Millennial Leader consulting business, and so as we're in there and we're seeing these creative juices just starting to spark up again, I realized I was regaining my identity.
Yeah.
I felt like I had a sense of purpose once again, and I also realized that I was surrounded by an amazing community. We started forming our board after the MBA was over, which, by the way, it was a super hit at Westminster College. They loved it, and
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's going to be a hit everywhere.
I think it will.
No,
Cool.
it will,
Yeah,
for sure.
I think so
I'm pretty
too.
sure it
Right.
will.
That's a
It's
good idea,
inevitable.
man.
The universe is behind it, and
Yes.
it's the wave I'm riding right now.
It's a
with
good
Matt.
thing.
And
And an
and
effective thing.
It's very effective.
Because wait till you hear about Matt. We're going to get to Matt in a second.
Yeah,
Isn't there like 15 million vets, U.S. vets right now, active? Or that are
I can't tell you off the top of my head. What
My
the
biggest-
Minus the
is.
22 a
My
day that
number is
we're
the
losing
20.
to
Right.
suicide.
True,
Yeah.
Good
So
point,
Absolutely.
Mindy.
That's
that
the
adds
one.
up super fast and is not acceptable
I mean,
at
that
any
means
level.
there's a lot of people that need help.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a lot. There's definitely a huge need for it.
Yeah.
There is, and it's really that, you know, like we formed our board, and like this big self-actualization moment that I had driving up from Vegas was, man, I just surrounded myself by my best friends.
Yeah.
Like, and I was projecting that out to the universe that I really wanted to find true friends. Graduated with my MBA, didn't have anyone to drink a beer with. I went through all this shit. My army buddies that I was in my company weren't there for me, you know, and and then I realized I finally have this family, this community, and that's what the Vetcave in principle is about, is giving people back a sense of identity, a sense of purpose, and giving them a community that surrounds their business so that they're successful.
I love
that's
it.
cool.
So Matt,
Very cool.
and maybe it's just because I'm more familiar with you that I kind of know the right kind of questions to ask you. But, and you know, hopefully you don't mind me sharing this. You know, Matt has very treatment-resistant PTSD. I told you Matt's very, very skilled, and yet PTSD is a fucking asshole in your life.
Absolutely.
Right? So, I mean, I don't even know how else to describe it. Like, so tell us about, like, some of the skills that you do use and have used, and how Vetcaves, like, came about for you, because yours is more particular and is, like, so... Anyway, you just go. I like Matt's Vetcave a lot.
I envy
And
this
I got
cave
to
myself.
and I got to watch this process, you know, of him, like, discovering, like, holy shit, like, this place that used to be like, why are you always running away to the shed? You know, it's like now this place of, like, safety and security and
Yes.
productivity, and, you know, so please share with us
My
about
story, I met Leo at MAPS my very first day of the Army. Leo was there, and then when I came back, we ended up being in the same company.
that. It's a small world, huh?
Man,
We were in the same company. We kind of just we got along the whole time we were there. We that's where we kind of grew to know each other. Then I had my breakdown when I got medically discharged from the military. I ended up being a disabled veteran after that. Trying to get my life together, and I just needed one thing to focus on, and I made it my shed at that point. My shed at the time I was is different than his. He has a different type of shed. I was like dumpster diving for my wood. There was a neighborhood next to mine being developed, and
I paid for my shell. His is badass.
I asked, you know, I went and talked to the contractors, of course. I'm like, hey, any of this wood available? And they looked at me like I was an idiot, like, whatever's in there you can have. So I'm like,
Get it the
sweet.
hell out of here.
So yeah, I took it, and they had more dumpster space, and it worked out. It was all symbiotic.
Dumpster space.
So I made mine out of dumpster wood and things like that, but it does look pretty. It doesn't look like a shack made of dumpster wood. But that was my focus, was to just build something. And then after I built it, I'm like, hey, this is pretty neat. I should take it further. And I wanted to incorporate service into what I was doing, because I was reading a lot of things at the time about service. And I was like, this would be great if I could work out of this and then like help people. And so I had made like a wheelchair ramp for an old lady out of there. And I had tried and done a couple little projects with church. And so just, I was trying to make my shed make me do good at that point. And so as I kept making me, I kept on adding to my shed every day, just little, this would make it look a little nicer, just put a little paint here and that, and it started forming. And Leo was like hanging out in his shed, and
we would FaceTime each other.
We were like, we were always a support.
Like business meeting.
We started our support group.
We did. It was a support group. Like, look what I did today. Click, take a picture of it. And Leo's like, yeah, man, I love it. And then he'd show me what he did in there today.
That's cool.
I'm like, yeah, bro, keep it up. Keep it up. And so that's how we built it, supporting each other. And that's the vision of Vetcave, is support just little bits of support. I don't got to be the whole dang thing at once. You don't need to come over and help me frame half the shed in one day.
Right.
But that's what we want to do. We want to build them a whole shed. But we just want to support each other, like support one another like we did each other, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, we were hanging out in his shed, and we were coming along, and I had wanted to do a couple things to help and do service work, and he has a really entrepreneurial mind, and he was like, yeah, let's put this together and why not do what we're doing? I'm like, why not? It's stupid not to.
Yeah.
And it just felt right. Why did it? And so we got all excited, and then we're like, this is stupid. Let's check it with some other people. And we did, and everybody thought it was a great, fantastic idea.
Our therapists, our doctors, our neighbors.
It's so genius.
Everyone keeps saying do it, so.
And so we're not just trying to gift somebody something. We want to gift them somebody to teach them to go fishing, not just to, because my dream is, honestly, I can't do regular jobs for that reason. Like, I could do it for a day or two, and then before you know it, I'm going to be having, what's the word I'm looking for? Triggers real bad.
Triggering events. Yep.
Triggering, like I'm getting triggered right now, but I can deal through the end of this show, but I'm becoming triggered. And that's, if I had a normal job like that, it would. So my job that I would love to do, and I am doing now and I've made it, is Vetcave, to help other people. I can work out of my Vetcave, running Vetcave, alongside with Vio.
You're Vio now.
Neo
What up,
from the
V?
Matrix, but
Leo.
Whatever. Huh?
So yes, alongside my friends, like he says, and it's fantastic to work with your friends and have trusting. It's not quite like an office where people are just.
You're just punching that.
But it's what works for you, and I love that you brought that up, because like I said, I treat lots of vets, and I have lots of vets that I treat that have PTSD and are, many of them are 100% disabled, and so, but none of them like being 100% disabled. I have not ever in my own practice worked with a veteran who was like, fuck yeah, I'm disabled, bitches. Whoa. That's not, and in fact, like, that shame is a huge part of something we have to deal with therapeutically, right? And so, like, I'm even thinking of another vet that I treat right this moment, who, like, he wants to work, and he has an MBA, and he cannot work because he can't work around a lot of people and stuff, and so he really has to be able, so he's like trying to do, I'll have to tell you about this, but maybe he needs a vet
Well, I
shed.
think you're hitting it right on the head, because we find these people all need, that's exactly what you're saying, is we find that they need help with their occupational work, and like you're saying,
and lots of things they want to do.
Give them this shed so that they can work out of this space comfortably on their own pace, and add a skill or occupation that they really are good at, and what they can excel at.
That's cool.
And find some purpose, absolutely. Because nobody, well, I believe it's my duty to get better now. I've made that a mission in my life to get better. It's not. I can't feel good about sitting around and not trying, because that's wrong.
Right.
So I think. Well, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, now that you've added some of these tools to your toolbox, and you've got this thing, when you start to feel triggered, if you were thinking about like, oh, I've got this shed at home, like so I'll be cool for a little while, and then I can get back there. Does that help? Now that you have something.
Oh yeah, like I've been learning to play the flamenco guitar.
Yeah.
Look up Antonio Garcia, badass guy, but awesome instructor.
So we're totally gonna have Leo on again, and he'll play the flamenco.
No, it's only been a month, but I just wanted to say
6 months. Leo will be on playing the flamenco.
You're only giving him 6 months.
I've been playing this.
Let's see what he can do in 6 months.
I told him I'll learn the flamenco, but I gotta learn Pearl Jam too. But
there you go.
That's my band.
That's our band too.
Dude, that's so funny.
So I've been practicing in my show.
Yeah, we were just talking about it.
It's just giving me creative. That's what the Vetcave I think needs to be. Is let's just boost those creative juices on veterans. And like on the corporate side, I worked for 6 years in corporate, and I think we need to do something about this right to work state, especially for veterans. We're so misunderstood in corporate America. I was a walking HR violation waiting to happen in there, and I reached senior management roles. I had my MBA, and yet my wife was driving me to work, where I was having panic attacks in the parking lot because I had to engage with 100 employees.
Yeah.
And then I saw, without being able to really say anything, just levels of discrimination, like, hey, this guy smells like pot, have him drug test. I mean, they drug tested me for pot, cocaine, all those drugs as if I was some criminal, and it felt horrible.
I had the same thing happen to me.
And then I was let go twice from very high-paying six-figure jobs, and it was like breaking up with your girlfriend or something.
Yeah.
I felt so cheated in ways, and I wasn't given an opportunity to really improve or stand for myself. And so something needs to change, and I hope the Vetcave can go into these corporations as we look for corporate sponsors to be able to, because that's what we're trying to do, is create a way where the community itself becomes these corporate sponsors, and talented people within these corporations donate time to help build the website, to coach the veteran on accounting or social media. And so going to these corporate sponsors is a big deal for us, and getting that community involved and teach them about PTSD. Mm-hmm. How can you help your veterans in there? It's not fair to just let them go because the right to work state allows that to happen,
Yeah.
We need to lobby against that.
And we also, yes, we do. And we also need to accommodate our veterans and the things that they're going to when struggling with PTSD, like, period. And it just blows my mind that we're like, we take care of our vets, and it's like, do we? Like, we provide housing to them once they're fucking homeless because they weren't able to maintain a job, and now they're strung out on drugs because they don't know how to manage their PTSD.
Look at that description.
Know what I mean? That's
the
not
job
supporting
description,
to me.
Fast-paced environment.
Yeah.
That word alone, a veteran reads that and goes, well, shit. If I'm triggered, that fast-paced has to go turtle speed.
So tell us a little bit about, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, back, just touching on the lobby side, we do quite a bit of policy work, and so it's, when you say that, it's very important for all of us as veterans to remember there are still things that we can come together about, right? So cannabis education is a big thing, but also PTSD education, educating people on why a veteran in the workforce may not look the same as another employee, but why that's okay, and ways that you can encourage that, because a lot of the vets that are coming back have huge skill sets, right? There's a lot that we can contribute if we're just engaged the right way. And so I think it's important that when we talk about things, and we can definitely talk even after the program about ways that we can engage together to try and change policy that are beneficial for vets with some of the issues.
That'd be fantastic.
Yes.
We'd love to talk about that.
Because change is always possible. And veterans are a very powerful group because, I think Americans by far love to support veterans and love to support the troops, but they don't know how to do it. Yeah. And I think that by far civilians do not understand PTSD or what veterans go through when they come home, or like the price that they pay over the long term. And I think that people need to learn about that so they can know how to best support veterans, Right. So, but tell us, so how does somebody go about, like, I was reading about the vet that you're helping with the vet shed right now, right?
Yeah, I saw his story.
Yeah, so tell us about that, and tell us about, like, so how does somebody go about, like, becoming a vet cave owner, and, like, tell us about the one you're helping now.
So you guys are doing custom for each person that you engage, right?
Okay. So our first project is Colton Bird. Colton came back from Iraq. He's a great guy. He came back from Iraq. He started struggling. How many months did we say? After?
I think it went like a good 6 to 10 months.
Yeah, something.
He was pushed out of his job and everything.
So yeah, he started struggling, and the VA helped him out. He was having a hard time with whatever his story is. I don't want to share too much about him without him here, but he was having a hard time with PTSD. Colton is with law enforcement currently in the state of Utah, an law enforcement organization. He also has a passion for raising service dogs, and so I love dogs. As our mission to provide occupational places and places of wellness. Thought it would be a great fit for Vetcaves to do the first shed on Colton. So, yes, we're going to build him a shed with a dog kennels and that go inside the shed.
So maybe like a cool dog
he can have his office.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cool.
Space is limited, so we're going to have to raise his floor, put kennels underneath like this table.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, we're going to make it all work and put a little run in the back. And then Colton will have his dream occupation right there in his backyard.
And he also he gets this opportunity to pay it forward to other veterans too, through raising these service dogs.
And he'll be part of a network, and that's really the vision, is to build a network of small business owners that are working out of their vet cave. And so we are this big support group now, and
that's cool.
We're all supporting each other in our businesses, maybe doing some trade work, kind of bringing it back down to the community level stuff, and hopefully my biggest hope is that our corporate sponsors are that community that just fuels these businesses and helps them become something.
So these guys these corporate sponsors need to step up.
And let me just a huge shout out to Sling TV. They are actually
Sling TV,
first corporate sponsor.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are they going to do your guys' show then, or is that something that you guys are looking at?
If you want to hear the story about the universe and how it works, I'm fine to share it, how we got with Sling TV. But in a nutshell, basically, you can only do so much with the Vet Cave, and last year we met all our milestones, and I really kept thinking, okay, next time, now we need to focus on building an advisory board, going forward with fundraising and things like that, and so I started driving Lyft because I wanted to just keep talking about it, and I made business cards, and I was like passing business cards, and I remember every time I got someone that wanted to go to the airport, that's a 40-minute ride. He's gonna hear that.
40-minute elevator.
There's a folder under your seat if you want to just take that with you.
Emotional in the back here, and giving me $10, $15 tips. So of course it was good business.
Yeah,
right.
Maximizing my production time, and I think it was like card number 380 or something like that, the guy worked at Sling TV, handed him my card, and he ended up giving it to his HR lady, and she reaches out and says, hey, we want to work with a veteran charity, but we keep calling them and no one calls back. Will you come talk to us? We're like, sure, let's do it. And so that's how that started. A little intervention of the universe there, because we stopped at a Starbucks and met this amazing guy, Jeff Crane, and he just overheard a conversation I was having with one of our board directors, Dave Kent, and he goes, hey guys, I love the idea. I've been involved with over 300 charities raising money. I want to hear more about this. And he's introduced us and opened doors for us that we really now feel the momentum of that wave that we're riding.
And that's the universe right there.
No doubt about it.
I told Matt that weeks ago, like when he was telling me that story, he was like, don't you think that's strange if someone just happened to be nearby and heard that? And I said, the Vet Cave's idea is brilliant. Like, anybody who heard it would be like, that had any kind of way to get involved would definitely want to get involved.
Yeah.
So, like, God
we welcome that, and we welcome that here at Vet Caves. We welcome all veteran, or not all veteran groups, but all groups. But we all groups that can benefit.
Yeah.
We can benefit from them, and they can benefit from us. So
that's awesome.
We're like that.
Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on the show and and taking the time and, sharing this incredible story. And I have no doubt that we'll have to have you guys back again. So
definitely want to see some progress.
Yeah,
and
let's
some
do it.
updates.
Yes.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to following guys' story.
And follow us on our
Yes,
on
tell us how do
Facebook.
people contact you.
You can find us as Vetcave on Facebook.
Right.
We have our webpage. It's vetcave.org. Right now we're focused on this one project. We want to nail it, get some film footage out of it. Which, by the way, if someone has some film talent and they want
any
to
listeners out there,
we could definitely benefit from a good some type of production, editing, and film. Come hang out with us and seriously, this is best friends right here.
I love this.
So we're excited for Sling and have some footage for you guys sometime soon.
Well, we're excited.
Nice. Yeah, we are.
So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you guys for watching our episode, and we will see you on the next episode of Therapeutic Madness. Stay mad, my friends.